Yo, what is up, guys? HalluNASTY here, and today I am joined by NarthVader, and we are subbing in for Horace and Dallas Boy doing the Minors Week 2 power rankings. So, introduce yourself, Narth.
What's going on, NPL fans? My name is NarthVader, and today I'm joined by my good buddy Hallu, and we're gonna bring you the Week 2 Minors Power Rankings. So yeah.
Yep, so let's just hop right into it, not waste any time. Um, so we'll start from the bottom as normal, I think. So at 16, I have Cloud. So Cloud is definitely struggling right now. I'm not sure why he preps the way he does. Like, why Lickitung and Golem are now staples on his drafts. He brought them twice now. Uh, I don't know why. I would love to see him bring like a Latias, a Scizor, or Bulu, because he has like a pretty good team, but he just doesn't seem very keen on using it. So where do you have Cloud?
I do agree with you in Cloud being number 16. He's one of the two Owen 2 teams, while both our number 15s did play. He played a little better than Cloud, which is why I'm number 15. I think we'll go into it a little bit later. But as you said, Clouds tends to bring Lickitung and which I guess in this matchup it wasn't too bad because Golem was checked to Zardax, just very threatening to Cloud's team, and Bulu and Scizor didn't have the best matchup. Make some questionable plays in the matchup against Hiker. For example, when he was facing Zardax, he sacked off his Sableye when he had his Golem, his dedicated check to it. He did that, and he let his win con go down very early, which was a Calm Mind Latias, which Hiker had very little to deal with. And I think if Cloud played that very well, it could have ended up overwhelming Hiker, and he could have actually gained a win from that.
Yeah, I agree. So definitely at number 15, as you mentioned, I also have John W. So while having to play Hiker and Turbo in the first 2 weeks is like not the ideal matchup, right? You still got to win if you want to be the best, and it's definitely not too late for him to turn the season around. But these battles, I don't think he's been doing a good job of identifying enemy win cons, right? So, for example, he's in his Scarf Diggersby, I think it's Scarf, and he clicks return. And Turbo switches in his Tapu Fini, and judging by the damage, you probably recognize that it's offensive Fini. And then he stays in and clicks return again. Why would he switch in a Tapu Fini, a non-defensive Tapu Fini, into a Diggersby that he knows is going to be 2 KO'd if he wasn't Scarf or had a way to deal with it? It just doesn't make sense. So John, I don't think John has been doing a good job of identifying how his enemies wants to play this game, and reacting and making sure, like, shutting down his enemy win cons. And if he continues to do this, I think he'll continue to be punished. So I hope he adapts his play, and just turns his season around. What do you think about John?
Similar to what you said, I think John has been playing a little too predictable. With the caliber and minors, for example, if you take a look at Turbo sets he brought, like, to protect Raikou and Scarfini. I think John needs to start adapting and changing his prep a little bit. That just losing his Scarf Diggersby really early on really hurt him. They have a lot to deal with Raikou, which I felt like he under prepped for. He is one of the two 0-2 teams, which is why he is number 15.
Yep, okay, so number 14 I have Tone. So Tone played an interesting game for sure, right? Knockoff Psychic Mew with Rocks is definitely interesting. But I don't know why he didn't bring anything for Defoggers like Empoleon and Hydreigon. Like, he could have very easily, but he opted into like knockoff and stuff. So the Meoh he had, though, applied a lot of pressure. I thought it was a good bring. And then his Mega Main set was another weird set. I'm not sure why Tapu Koko outsped it. Maybe with Calx we could have like saw something was defensive. I didn't run Calx. I don't know what exactly he needed for it. And I'm not the biggest fan of his Automized Physical Coma O set. I think if it was Dragon Dance, he would have just won convincingly, but he wasn't. I don't know. And if he was Drain Punch too, that would have changed the game. So yeah, his prep, Joe, is just like really confusing me. It's not like standard, and it's not like making sense to me outside watching the game in hindsight. Maybe if I went more in depth in the matchup and I talked to him about it, it would make more sense. But as of now, I think his prep is like interesting. I would like to see him shape that up. Not even just do predictable stuff, but just like not bring weird sets like no speed Mega Main or something. Yeah, and I would like to see him do this to see advance his play. Where do you think about Tone?
Again, I do agree with some of the points you made with Tone. His prep has been a little interesting. For example, with the autotomized Kamoa, his reasoning behind autotomized Kamoa was because, I remember watching this, was because at +1, he still felt like Scarf Infinite, which is a viable bring, which I do somewhat agree with, is that it'd still outspeed him. However, like you said, if he brought like Dragon Dance Drain Punch, he'd be able to beat Scarf Infinite. But Scarf Infinite, like, it's not the most reliable way to revenge kill Kamo, because Kamo has respectable bulk, and a bulk upset would have really helped him. And because he didn't go Dragon Dance, he lost out on the reliable power to knock out Porygon too, because after Rocks live a Life Orb at him in close combat. But however, Tone ended up critting the Porygon too, and ended up in order to pull out the win, which was a match that Tone should have lost as well. And he didn't bring a lot to beat Porygon 2. He heavily relied on Como, which Illusion's team constantly pressured. He only had like knockoff Mew, which wasn't the best bring as well, because as you mentioned, from things like Hydreigon and Empoleon, his set as his Mew set was walled by some of those Pokemon, and he did have like Life or Superpower Mamoswine, but if healthy enough, it can recover off, and I don't think he brought the best team to deal with it. The Mega Manectric set was okay. I do like the bulky Mega Manectric set, as it can take some hits from Coco. A 3 attacks toxic sets. And due to Illusion's team, I felt like the set was alright, but I said a little better, as he could have swapped something like over or because Signal Beam would do a lot more damage to Hydreigon, and due to Coco's electric terrain, Thunderbolt would do a lot more to Mega Heracross than Flamethrower, which I felt like is a little bit better. If Tone picks up his prep a little bit, I feel like he can move up in the power rankings.
Yep, I definitely agree. So number 13, I have Techno. So Techno seemingly hacking a dub off of Meoh, and I'm not really 100% sure what happened with Oszi and the whole Reuniclus thing, because admittedly I skipped the entire PP stall because I was like 40 turns that I did not want to deal with. But I think Techno is definitely struggling this season. So hacking a win off Meow's probably someone that you want to be able to beat if you want to be making playoffs. You want to beat him convincingly. Well, I don't think Techno's bad. I definitely see him struggling. I think his prep is just not there where it needs to be, and the way he's playing his prep is not good, and I think this all comes down to his Mega Kangaskhan. I don't think he's using his Mega Kangaskhan well enough to be able to create pressure that he needs for his lower tier mons to succeed. As we saw, he just let it take a free shock, or a Z free shock from the Kyron Black turn 1 against Oszi. Like, Mega Kangaskhan, I think he needs to create more pressure with Megascon so he can open up mid to late game better for his other tiers and play it out better. I think he can do better. I hope I see him do better soon, because right now I think he's just struggling to use his team effectively. Where do you have Techno?
I have Techno in number 11, actually. Some of the points you did make were true, but some of them I do somewhat disagree with. For example, Tech's use in Mega Kangaskhan, it's been okay. Admittedly, I don't think he was expecting a turn 1 Z free shock, as even something died, because Tech's team didn't have a switch into a Z free shock. Most teams don't, anyways. Also, his prep, actually, with the week 1 win against Meoh, even without all the hacks, Tech still had a good chance to win if he played that well. So I'm still convinced that Tech actually explain it better in this video. Along with that, against Oszi was okay. He brought an alright team, but against Calm Mind Reuniclus, as he didn't really bring enough for that. However, I feel like Tech still played that match well enough, and he did get hacks in that match as well, because he ended up assist on Oszi's Reuniclus, which actually mattered in the sense where Oszi was able to get paralyzed enough to where his sub-pressure Roost Zapdos stalled Oszi's offensive attacks. Ended up making it a lot easier for Oszi to win, which kind of Techno, which is why I have him number 11 over my number 13 team, which I think we'll go over next.
I thought Side Shot got 24 PP. Yes, no?
It's
Alright, that doesn't matter. Okay, so number 12, I have Carney. I like Carney's prep this week, actually. I thought it was pretty good. Just an unfortunate loss. So he brought a lot of unique tools, right? Creative prep that I thought had a lot of chance to work. But unfortunately, I just had the ways to deal with them. So, like the Toxic on the Rotom H was, really unfortunate as Carney was playing through his Volbeat pretty well, I think, and he was really using it to create pressure. But unfortunately, the Rotom he just had Toxic, pretty much shut down the Volbeat, shut down other things. And the Scarf Dougie, it was a really good tech that I didn't expect to see coming for the Scarf Hitmonlee. Um, so yeah, I think both sides prepped well in this case. Carney just had a bad matchup with the way I prepped. So I hope he can bounce back. Carney definitely, I don't think like played bad or anything. I expect him to continue to struggle with matchups, but it's going to definitely be interesting, going to be fun. That's all I have to say about Carney. Where do you have Carney?
I have Carney in my number 13 actually, and this is the part where it starts to get hard as power rankers in week 2 because there are a majority of the teams are, I believe 12 of the teams are currently sitting at 1-1 for the record, and while some of them are pretty obvious on where to rank them, a good portion of them is very difficult to rank, and I feel like Carney, while maybe he doesn't exactly deserve number 13, it's just a lot of the teams did perform a little better than Carney, and I feel like Carney relied on a similar strategy in week 1 where he used Volbeat to gain momentum, and he was on the back foot a lot of this matchup because II used something, Mons just taunt Kabalion, and in order for Carney to get a hand or to get a leg up on he had to set up hazards, but definitely prep for that as I believe it was Defog Rotom Heat, and I was overall in this match, and that's kind of why I put Carney number 13.
Okay, so at number 11, I have Jake. So Jake was rather unlucky. I don't know how much it mattered, because I think Bombi can just hit up a Quiver Dance on Shaman. Unless it can't, then it mattered a lot more. So I thought the hacks only changed the differential. But Jake did not play around the Gliscor well at all. And it looked like he didn't really have a way to breaking it without relying on the Shaman, which the Gliscor wouldn't stay in on. So from the bit of games I have watched from Jake, he's like really going to stud out the season, or he's not going to stud out the season, depending on how well he uses his lower tier mons. That's not like a dig at Jake. It's not a bad thing, right? Like if you watch me play, it's going to be my season is going to depend on how well I can use Cresselia and Talonflame. I even have them, but this season for him, I have my concerns. With his lower tier mons, doesn't look like he's getting the value out of him that he needs to succeed. I know like an example that I could pull up right away off the top of my head is the Blaziken in the CPC. He had a bunch of kills with those, used that well, applied a lot of pressure, and like I don't know if he's going to be able to do it with this Lazzle. So I would like to see him start doing it, start using his lower tier mons to complement his draft, his play style. But that's just like a question mark. It's either going to happen or it's not, and we'll know in the future. So where do you have Jake?
Number 10 actually, just a little bit over here is while Jake did get a little unlucky, Meoh didn't play well. Meoh constantly had momentum in the match. I feel like Jake could have played a little better. I didn't exactly. I just watched the replay and watched the video, and it was a remake, so I don't know too much about the match itself. I felt like Jake, like you said, Jake could have played around the glass court a little better because he didn't have much to break Shaman, which was heavily pressured in this matchup because Meoh brought Rotom Frost, Meoh brought Tornadus Incarnate, Meoh brought, what else did Meoh bring? He brought one of them, Rabombi. And also, if you take a look at Jake's team was pretty weak to Rabombi in general, which that's not to say was a flaw, his fault per se, but his team was just kind of weak to Rabombi. That's kind of why I put him in at number 10. Did perform a little better than the other teams I ranked below him, which is why I put him in number 10.
Okay, so at number 10, I actually had II. So I think II looked good against Carney for sure. Like, I was definitely impressed by his prep. He used Manaphy to soften up Carney's team, but, like, I still have questions about Manaphy. I don't know how well he'll be able to use Manaphy in the future. And while Manaphy is a fantastic wall breaker, it's rather linear and a predictable one, definitely in terms of NPL, right? Everyone knows what you're going to want to use it for. I think while he did get the success he needed off this matchup, I do think it was because of this matchup. Um, so going in future matchups, I don't know if he'll be able to get the mileage out of it that he needs. But I will say that I was impressed by some of his other prep, his other things of Carney's threats. Like I said before when talking about Carney, the scarf Doug Trio for the scarf hit Monley, sorry, and other things. I'm still not quite sure if he also tools he needs though, and can prep this way to prep in a way that his games are in a prep in a way so that way he can win his games based on what he does and not what his opponent does. Um, his schedule up until the future game for the short while is easy relative to my PRs. So I think he's going to pick up some games. I think he's going to show some tools. I think he's going to grow into his team. He might even make some transactions, not sure. But I definitely see him moving up and becoming a slightly above middle pack player. Where do you have II?
I have Aya in number 12 actually. Carney, it was a good win, but it wasn't as impressive. Who are currently 1-1. I feel like I can perform a lot better. Has done so far. That's not to say that that I is a good player. I is not a good player. I is a fantastic player actually, and I feel like if he, like you said, if he can adjust his team up, his play style and his prep, and come out on top and potentially promote. Again, just the first loss he took against Illusion was pretty hard. This week when against Carney, it was good. Wasn't as convincing. Kind of why I have him number 12. And along with that, I felt like Carney, you're power rankings. You disagree with this a bit, but I felt like Jake and Tech did perform a little better than I. So that's why I have him in number 12.
Okay, so number 9 I have Meoh. So I think Meoh played a rather fine game against Jake. And I think he played rather well against Techno too. But I am definitely concerned about how he's using his Maul while. So he didn't get much from it week 1, and well, he could have got one more from it week 1, but he didn't. And he let it die instantly week 2. Fire Blast for Togekiss is dead, right? And then he built a team that functions outside of Mega Maul while, right? If he wants to, he can just not bring Mega Maul while, and his team's gonna be fine. Might even be better. He might even use it better, right? So his squad just does not complement Mega Maul while, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? So I think when people realize that Meoh is just not using his Maul while better that well, and prep for his other mons like the Umbreon, the Rabombi, all that other stuff that he's gonna want to use, the Keldeo, maybe even the Haxorus. I think he's going to start to get punished for it, so I would like to see him change his playstyle. I would like to see him get some mileage out of his Maul while, because I think, similar to Techno, he needs to really use his Mega as this is like his top tier Pokemon. Use it well, affect it well, create a lot of pressure so that way his lower tier mons can get in and do what they need to do. What do you think about Meoh?
With the Mega Mawile thing, I do somewhat disagree that his team actually supports Mega Mawile very, very well. Reason being is because he has Sticky Webs with the Bombi. He has Priority Tailwind with Tornadus and Current. He even has the option for a Trick Room with Cofagrigus. And he has a lot of Pokemon that just function well with Mega Mawile, such as Gliscor, because Mega Mawile is ground type, so Gliscor can just come in on it. And so I do somewhat disagree with that. And he's been using Mega Mall okay. His reason being for Mega Mall getting sacked without doing anything is because he felt like he could have taken a hit from Tokus, but I'm assuming Jake was an offensive expert belt set, because I don't think Fire Blast without any boosting item could have knocked out, because he wasn't Life Orb Specs. I don't know that for sure. So I'm assuming expert, but I'm not too sure about that. But don't really much. However, in the match, Meoh did held a lot of the momentum, pressuring Jake, and he last scored fantastically as Jake struggled to beat that, and he did get the cool Rabombi sweep at the end. So again, similar to like all the 1-1 teams, I feel like Meoh performed a little better than the teams I have ranked below him. didn't perform as well as say the other teams I have ranked higher.
Okay, so at number 8 I have Uzi. I think he played fine this week. Uh, I don't know how the career Kangaskhan. I have no idea if that mattered or not. I can't actually say. No idea. It was a Z free shot from Kyram onto a Mega Kangaskhan. No idea if that matters. What his sets were, what the Kangaskhan set was. But overall, I think Uzi's playing rather consistently. I don't think he's playing top tier consistent, but I definitely think he's playing middle of the pack to above pack consistent, and that's just all you really got to do at the beginning of the season while you feel out your team and try to gain momentum heading into playoffs. Um, in playoffs, you definitely have to play top tier if you want to win, but for now, I think he's gonna be fine doing what he's doing. Um, I still didn't watch. I'll say it again because I did not watch. I hit the skip button like 40 times over the Reuniclus Zapdos because I was not about to watch some pressure stall. Um, so yeah, I think he's playing rather consistent. Um, I don't think he's playing the best, but I don't think he's playing the worst. I think he'll make playoffs at this rate. Where do you have Uzi?
I have Uzi, same as you, number 8. My reasoning on Uzi being number 8 is pretty simple. After the bit of a rough loss he took last week against Turbo, he did get hacked a bit, which actually did end up losing him a 50-50 because his Reuniclus had a 50% he has to take a Z throat chop from Hitmonchan. Anyways, speak 2 now. And I felt like he definitely stepped up his prep and his play because he was, the huge turn 1 with Z free shot, Kieran Black. Overall, getting Reuniclus in a position where it can win. Granted, Tech had Subru, Zapdos, and Uzi did get a little lucky with that. He still played his Reuniclus well, and he played cautiously with it as well because a little bit after that's huge Star War or whatever, the Zygarde 10% was in, and he scouted for a Z Crunch, which could have killed him, and that could have Uzi. So he utilized his win condition well. He prepped well. He got rid of the big threats. He had a game plan. He followed out, and I really am impressed with Uzi this week, and that's why I have him number 8.
Okay, so number 7 I have Turkey. So when you can 1v1 a Lando T with a Bronzong, you're a beast. I like the way he used his own Lando, so Lando I. I like how we got it in, broke with it when he needed to. I liked his prep for the Manchow, the Protect on Houndoom. That was pretty good. And overall, I think this was just a solid game from Turk, right? I don't have much else to say. I think he played and prepped well against a solid opponent. So I hope he keeps this up, continues to do well, because if he continues to prep and play like this, he's definitely going to have a solid season. Where do you have Turk?
I have Turk in number 6, actually. Similar to what you said, this game, he had a close loss against Jake last week and was able to step it up and take on a formidable opponent in Lord Zedon. I did help Turk a bit in this, and I know he was struggling a lot because the matchup was Turk, just Weavile and Lando T together is just disgusting, and it is very hard for Turk to beat. But Turk found a way to beat that. Bronzong Lure, which he did exchange Bronzong for Landorus T. While he didn't get his own rocks up to pressure Weavile, he didn't need rocks per se, and if rocks were on Turk's side, I felt like that hurt him a little more, but Zedon constantly being forced to default was really, really good for him, actually, because Turk's way of checking Weavile was so volley fire. Ice move with the memory knockoff is kind of space 65, and the only way I thought was like a power curve dig set, which I don't think he could have really predicted. And he played well. Protect Mega Houndoom was good to get chip off on the Mienshao. Turk had the momentum in the game, and he played very, very well against a formidable opponent. So props to him. He definitely earned the number 6 spot in my power rankings this week.
So you have Turk at number 6, I have number 7, but at number 6 I have Keegan. So getting Bird 1 with a 20% chance feels bad, but like I definitely can't say he would have won otherwise, nor that he shouldn't have got burned, right? It's not that low of a chance. The scar rate just didn't put in the value that he needed, and I wasn't too fond of the Ironhead bring, right? Also, if Jolteon is going to be AV, you probably don't want it doing 70% to your Zygarde, right? Especially if your Zygarde is not going to be strong enough to break the opposing team. So I would probably like to see the Yash Berry over the Z move, especially on a subset, right? If you're clicking sub and then your sub's breaking, you can't even need an ice beam from a Lola Mola. Does Jolteon hidden power ice doing way too much? So with that being said, I probably would have liked to see a toxic set. I think that would have been a way more effective breaker onto the Lola Mola, onto the other things. Toxic, maybe sub protect with 1,000 arrows or something like that, just to really stall out with the toxic. So anyways, at the end of the game, like I don't think it's the end of the world for Keegan. I think he's still learning the limits of his Pokemon. He's still bringing like standard Zygarde sets, and I think once you start to get a little funky with it, the pressure of Zygarde plus Yanmega will be really overwhelming for teams to deal with. As how much experience do you have dealing with a Yanmega and Zygarde? It's just not. I think it might even be a better Zygarde Pinsir. Well, that's definitely to see. Just meme a little bit because Yanmega is going to be kill leader. So I hope he adapts. I hope he continues to play well. Just do what he needs to do. What do you have to say about Keegan?
I have Keegan number 7, or number 6 and 7 are swapped actually, and Keegan, similar to what you said, his prep was pretty standard and pretty similar to last week. He brought a very similar Bouffalon and Assault Vest, Life Orb, Protect, Speed Boost, Yanmega, and I felt like icebreaker. I felt like a little better to break through Owen's fat stuff. Maybe this is my opinion on that. Anyways, in Zygarde's true strength lies in its EVs, because Zygarde is very customizable, and like you said, a Trapper set might have been a little better than a Dragonair Z move. A Dragonair Z move set was still fine because a +1 Z outrage did knock things out like Tangrowth and Alomomola after some chip. Owen just had the momentum for a lot of the match, even with the burn on Bouffalon, held a lot of the momentum in the match. And I felt like if Keegan were to adapt his play and prep, I think Keegan could be a little stronger, but he still performed all right. The big win last week, so number 7 is where he belongs for now.
Okay, so number 5, I have Lord Zedin. So trading Lando T for no rocks, 80% of a Bronze Song with a crit and lack of momentum due to the fact that it needs to be revenged. It's not worth it in my opinion. So he needs to send something in to kill the Bronze Song, and then Turk gets switch advantage. So yeah, definitely not a worth trade in my opinion. Should have like done something different to play better. Maybe lead off with the Weavile or something. I don't know. So the effects of the bad trade can be felt when he has to switch in his Life Orb Weavile to take his E-Power from Best Lando, because Turk was able to click it for free. When Lando went down, what ground resistor immunity does he have? He doesn't have anything. So Turk's coming in, he's clicking E-Power no matter what. It's just how it's going to be. The SD pass was definitely interesting. It's quite unfortunate that it didn't work, actually. Turk with the Protect on Houndoom to make it work. But with Turk's hazard removal also being so pinched, and him bringing stuff so weak to rocks, like the Fire Savali, like a bunch of other stuff that you mentioned before when we talked about Turk, I would like to see some hazard stack against Turk and let Zedin's momentum wear down Turk. I think he could have just used momentum to beat down Turk with hazards. So the way Zedin prepped this game, way he played this game, definitely question mark. But I hope it was a fluke because he did really well in week 1. And I'm definitely excited to see if he can meet the expectations I have for him. Pretty much from week 1. Where do you have this Lord Zedin?
Number 5 as well. In week 1, he had a very strong performance against, again, a very strong player in Owen. He comes in against Turk, and he did struggle a bit. You know, Turk, he was on the back foot for a bit. Well, I think it was a relatively close match against Turk. It was like 1-0 or 2-0, and with the strong one he had against Owen, dropped him by too much. And overall, with all the 1-1 teams, I feel like this team performed a lot better than a majority of those teams. The SD pass with I believe it was Mega Scissor was, but I don't think that was the optimal bring. I don't think it was the optimal bring in general, just because Turk had a lot for Mega Scissor, just Mega Houndoom in general. He had it's a Volley Fire, which is really cool as well. I don't know, just when it's Zidane this week, he's performed a little better than the other teams, which is why he's number 5.
Okay, so number 4, I have Owen. So unfortunately, he couldn't pull the double against Zidane in week 1, right? But I think he's still showing, especially this week, that he's still a top competitor, right? So I really like how aggressively he plays his Victini, as it allows him to gain a lot on these favorable trades, right? And I think Owen is showing us, one of the only coaches show us that he is playing to win and not playing to not lose. And I definitely like that. The games are definitely in his. He goes into the game, look, like, I'm going to play this way and I'm going to win this game. I'm not going to wait for you to make a mistake or wait for something to happen where I just win passively. I like the Flame Lola to presumably take on the Toxic Stall Zygarde, which we talked about, and that's definitely some cool tech right there. I like the AV Jolteon, knowing the Yon Mega was going to come. So overall, pretty solid plays. I think his prep was pretty solid. I'm definitely a fan of how aggressively he plays. Even if it doesn't work out, playing to win is definitely better than playing not to lose. I'm excited to watch more of his games this season. And I would like to see how these other coaches are able to handle the aggressive play style, and just see what they do against it. Where do you have Owen? Narth? Um, okay, it looks like Narth is not here at the moment, so I think I'm just gonna continue at this point. I guess that's like the best course of action. So at number 3, I have Hiker Toad. So I'm having a hard time getting the proper read on a Hiker, right? I really like his team except for the fact that he doesn't have Starmie. So I'm going to throw shade at him because Starmie's better than Rotom Wash no matter what the entire community says. People like Rotom Wash just because they don't understand the power of Starmie and Psychic types. Psychic types are the best type to ever exist in the whole world. Cresselia is the best Pokemon. Starmie might be the second best because it's a Psychic type. But there's also Meoh, which is also a Psychic type. So this is a conversation for another day. Besides that, he had a relatively easy opening relative to my PRs with Cloud, John W. And he plays this game really safe, right? He's like the polar opposite of how Owen was playing. I would like to see him play more aggressive, right? I want to see some more aggressive doubles, especially with the Charax. You definitely aggressively double your Charax and gain some advantages. He has a team where if he plays well and plays to win, he's got a stacked team that he can create advantages with, out-pressure his opponents, and win the game. So I'd like to see him make some more impressive games against the top of the league. Where I think he can hang, I think it'll be determined. Narth, if you're back, would you like to talk about your number 4 and number 3?
For me. Apologize for that.
Okay, I'll take that as a no. I'm going to move on now. Number 2, I have Illusion. So he got a Tox off on Mew, which is pretty good, especially on Napoleon, so he didn't get to synchronize. That's definitely a good thing, right? And I think Illusion held control over the early game well. I do think he choked away the end game despite the crit, right? Well, if he didn't get crit, he wouldn't have choked away. But he definitely, I feel like he just did not optimize the way he played the end game. Taking air slash with the Mega Hair Cross, etc. I think he could have been a little cleaner. He even said in the replay he could have played better to avoid the crit. Definitely not the crit in his end game. Probably shouldn't have mattered, but still, definitely, crit definitely sucked, deserved to win. But yeah, as I said, I don't think it was as clean as it could have been. I think his prep was definitely interesting. Not my favorite, but interesting nonetheless. I think he still has what it takes to be a top contender. I would like to see him clean up his gameplay, or not his game. Yeah, clean it up his gameplay. It's not bad, but it's not crisp. I do have some concerns about him and how he's going to perform. Right, he seems to be a player that tilts when hacked. I tilt when hacked, so he looks just like me. You get hacked, it sucks. Like air slash flinch, for example, a Scald Burn. It's like, damn, that sucks. He starts to tilt. His plays are not as good as they could have been. It's not as clean, and then you set yourself up for a situation where you get crit at the end. It just sucks. I don't have advice to get over that. I do it too. Not judging him for it, but that's just an easy way to drop some games. So I hope he proves me wrong and works on it, because I definitely think he has potential to go deep. When I did week 0, I said his draft was my favorite. Still is my favorite. I still don't think he's a bad player. I still think he's good. So I hope he cleans it up, goes deep. I definitely think he's got potential to be promoted. Are you back yet, North?
Yeah, apologies for that. So I'll talk about my number 2 to 4. First go number 4 with Owen. Owen played phenomenally in this game. He beat a top-ranked team. He was number 1 in Dallas's ranking last week, and he played Victini very aggressively, which I really did like. He caught his Gengar on the switch, which was amazing, and it really helped. His Flame Orb Alomomola, which is a really cool set actually, and his thought process behind it because it prevented a trapping Zygarde from pretty much taking his Alomomola, which he needed to check Zygarde. Getting Toxic, of course, which and burn damage is fine because Alomomola can regenerate constantly. Forced to defog his hazards away, or was it one of them defog their hazards away? I'm pretty sure it's Keegan. Alomo was fine at taking bird damage and constantly regenning it. Gene was a second, or like a backup check to Yamega in case his Mandibuzz got worn down or got flinched, which did happen in the game. You know, Owen still did all right last week, and with a very strong performance this week, I definitely feel like he earned number 4 slots. Is my number 3, which is Illusion and his Las Vegas Venusaur's Illusion. Great this game. He constantly held the momentum in this game as well against Tone. You know, he utilized his P2 or his Porygon 2, which was very, very good as Tone kind of under prep for it. Illusion should have won this game, quite frankly. Misprep from Autotomized Life Orb Meoh. He did live in Adamant Life Orb close combat from who got critted, and it was game from there because he couldn't take a hit from Meoh anymore, and that's why he ended up losing. Just played very strong. He had a very strong win last week, and that's why he's number 3. Is Hiker Toad in the Boston Bulldor is amazing with very strong and convincing wins against John W. and now with Cloud Envy. The only reason he's a number 1 for me is because his 2 wins are the 2 bottom teams. Hiker didn't play because Hiker did. He under prep for Calm Mind Latias, but he was able to play around it to just play well and hold the momentum as Cloud kept on making mistakes like sacking off his Sableye, and Hiker was able to number 2 for me.
Okay, so I think you're all caught up, so we'll talk about number 1. It's Turbo. So Turbo had 2 clean wins this far this season. He's definitely looking good. Upcoming Week 3 matchup against Meoh. I think Turbo should probably pick another dub. That's why we put him at number 1, because we think he's gonna win. So Turbo's sitting on top standings. I think his prep solid. His battles solid. I don't think he'll be dropping anytime soon. So I said this when I did Week 0s. I oftentimes mock for Turbo. Therefore, I'm a bit biased. But I think his prep solid. He works hard. I think his play's fine. So without saying anything more, that's just going to be complete bias. I hope to see him play more matchups. Excited for what he can do. To you, Narth, you're number 1.
My number 1 is also It's Turbo, coach of the Phoenix Midnights. The Week 1 win against Uzi was a little questionable. It wasn't as convincing as, say, some of the other coaches in Week 1. I definitely feel like he proved that he deserved to be here. Instant win against John W. I believe it was like a 4-0 again or something like that. The very creative build with Scarfini, Sub-Dragon Dance, Megaladios being his win condition. The star of the show, Sub-Toxic Protect Raikou, which was on team that doesn't do as well against Electric, because I think it's like weak to Electric. And having a fast Electric type that can Toxic his Electric resist and get a sub-up protect, just wear down his checks. He mentioned as well in his video that this Q can potentially 1v1 a Mega Gallade if it switches in as he has a substitute up. And played against Turbo's team, which was incredibly threatening, was Fanny being able to check Scarf Diggersby, um, Megalade, team overall, and Turbo definitely stepped up his game. And I think he's proven that he does deserve to be here. So congrats to Turbo on that. He's number 1 for our power rankings.
Yep, definitely congrats to Turbo. So that is all. That is our 16 people where they're ranked. Weeks 2, Season 5, NPL Minors Power Rankings. If you haven't already, check out the coaches' videos. I'm sure they could provide a lot more insight onto the games than we can. We look at the games, we watch the games, but we cannot explain their thought processes. This is just our interpretations of how the games went down. So I don't know who's going to be seeing you guys for week 3. Or any other video, truth be told. That's all for now. See you guys later. You have anything else you want to say, Narth, before we close it up?
Yeah, just make sure to go check out all of the Minors coaches in the description below. Go sub to them as well. They all upload fantastic content, and they can definitely do a better job in explaining them. Also, please note, this is just our opinions, not bashing any coaches, and stay tuned for next week of Minors Pick'ems and Power Rankings.
Yep. Great season of Minors. Hopefully you guys like the power rankings. See y'all later. Oh, shit.